Well, hello everyone. Welcome to yet another Open Mic Hangout. The link to join is in the sidebar chat. It is pinned down, so feel free to come on in. Have a couple people in the back right now, but just a couple of quick announcements. Please get vaccinated for COVID-19. I cannot stress how important vaccinations are. Please don't be an idiot. Don't be selfish. Get the first shot that you can get. And so we have a couple of topics in mind for the agenda today, talking a little bit about the messianic prophecies of Jesus. And I do want to talk a little bit about virology and the importance of vaccines. So if Dr. Dan comes in, we can touch up on some of that awesome vaccination stuff. So for now, Creo is here. Hello, Creo. How are you?
Hi, Dev. Fine, thanks. And you?
I am doing all right.
Okay, super.
Thank you so much for coming. Okay. Hello, Mr. Archaeopteryx. Hello, Paul. Welcome. See you guys in the sidebar chat. Paul says, I just had my first vaccination. Awesome. I just got my second shot a few days ago. So yeah, second shot made me feel like shit, but I'm glad all that's over. Hello, Laurie. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so hopefully Dr. Dan comes in and we can chat some awesome virology stuff. But anything on your mind?
Okay, what I mind?
Yeah.
I want to ask, have you looked at the presentations I sent to you? Dave?
I can't hear you.
Okay, hear you now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That's a little bit better.
Sorry, I'm experienced with this mic. So I have sent you some presentations with Jesus prophecy and other Bible-related stuff. So
Um,
have you looked at it? And,
yeah, haven't had much of a chance to look at them in absolute detail. Just been so busy getting ready for my stuff.
okay.
I do want to plug in this announcement real quick. Artangelo and I are planning on hopefully having a debate on modern day debate on the Shadow Turn. Don't know if that's going to happen yet or not, but that's something to look forward to. Hopefully
About
it
what?
happens. What was that?
About what is the debate?
The Shroud of Turin,
Mm.
whether it's authentic or not. Let's see here. Here, I'm looking at your stuff right now.
So I know it's not completely made, so I will probably add some stuff there. And English is not
Oh,
my
no,
native language, so it's messy a little bit, but it has already lots of content. There are like 50 prophecies about Jesus in Old Testament. What Christ are claiming to be prophecy about Jesus. So Jesus becomes valid Judaism Messiah, and each of that stuff must be gone, and so the place must be read, and we must know background and other stuff to validate it.
okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's very difficult for me to.
So
What was that?
am I right that in Judaism there is sort of so Christians think that there is two kind of prophecies about the ruling Messiah and about suffering Messiah. About suffering Messiah is Jesus' first coming, and ruling Messiah is sort of Jesus' second coming. But Jews claim that a Messiah will be only the ruling Messiah, and do not accept the places where suffering Messiah is. Because, am I right?
I'm sorry. I'm having a very difficult time understanding you.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I'm just. Trying. I don't know if it's your mic or what.
Okay, so I can repeat it again. Do you hear me now? Well,
It's a tad bit better.
okay, so I want to say that Christians claim that there are two types of messianic prophecy in Old Testament: the ruling Messiah prophecies and the suffering Messiah prophecies. So suffering Messiah prophecies are related to the first come of Jesus, and ruling Messiah prophecies are to second. But Jews claim that there is only ruling Messiah prophecies, and do not accept suffering Messiah because it does not fit the Jewish understanding of the Messiah.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's pretty much correct.
Mm-hmm. So,
All right.
so, but it is the issue because if the issue with Jesus was that he was not accepted by Jews as a valid prophet because of formulations and other stuff. But the funny is, if he would accept by Jews as Messiah, he would not be crucified because Messiah is the king who will establish the ruling of Israel over the world. So, in order to fulfill what Jews did, and Jews must not accept him as a Messiah. This is a trick what I have think about.
Yeah.
Didn't get it?
Hold on one second. Mr.
Mhm.
Archaeopteryx, welcome. Hold on one
Hi.
second. I'm trying to figure out something real quick with my thing. How do I turn off auto join? I don't know. I'll take care of that later. But yeah, we started a little bit earlier than I had initially expected. definitions of mRNA. Hopefully, we can talk a little bit about some of that stuff. Mr. Archaeopteryx, you went to the Dinosaur Adventureland. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, down here in Alabama. I mean, it was interesting. I didn't get to talk to Kent Hovind as long as I wanted to, but I mean, it's not bad. I saw his creation or his science center, like he likes to call it, and it was basically a printout of his PowerPoints with a few little, I don't know, few little gimmicks, kind of stuff you might see at a children's museum. But I mean, it was, it wasn't anything special.
Yeah, and you get to see any of the cult compound? I hear there's a couple of people who actually live there.
There's probably maybe, I don't know, 30 people living there, and there's kind of some little, it almost looks like little houses you would see at a campsite. I did see the lake where, some poor kid drowned, but it was kind of I would call it sort of a half petting museum with sort of just to, like I said, is kind of little children's museum / PowerPoint presentation. I saw, the fossilized pickle, which is a rock.
Yeah. Another one of Kent Hovind's favorite lines.
Oh my gosh. I asked him how he knew it was a pickle, and he said, well, it came out of a pickle jar.
Yeah. There's a reason, yeah. I don't like Kent Hovind that much. I think he's a slime ball.
Yes, he is the worst of creationists that overall are.
Oh, I tried to kind of pin him down on a few things. I was asking him about because I'd heard him saying before how our vitamin C, we've got 4 genes that used to make vitamin C, and one of them was broken, and he used that as evidence for kind of that we're all falling apart, and a cursed world and all that.
Yeah.
And so I brought up, well, why do all the primates, virtually all the primates, have the exact same broken gene, broken in the exact same way? And he ended up having to phone a friend right away. And
can I phone a friend? Yeah. And of course, his creationist favorite talking point, the genetic entropy stuff.
I still don't think he knows what ERVs are either.
Yeah, and Standing for Truth and company definitely don't know what they are. They're functional, therefore they are created.
Well, yeah, maybe a handful are functional.
Yeah. So there's still viruses, and it's so interesting that we have hundreds of ERVs in the same location, just as we would expect to have common ancestry was the case. But yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I've heard some of Standing for Truth's counter arguments that he'll name off a few that are functional, but my understanding is they've actually went into some of these known ERVs and reactivated them, and they actually started producing ancient viruses again. So I don't know how you explain that away.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully Dr. Dan can come in and we can talk about some of the stuff with ERVs and stuff like that. So don't know if it's coming in yet or not.
Yes. But theoretically, when you just separate a gene, it can become a virus. So as I said, it's like we must take 2 hypotheses and apply the hierarchy of retroviruses what we know. So one hypothesis would be, for example, that from original, this creation hypothesis, from original DNA, what we all have, some some parts of code became autonomous and became those retroviruses. This can explain something. Because else you would not explain the same retroviruses for different species. Because if creator have intentionally made so, it's very strange for what purpose. So my idea is somehow to distinguish this hypothesis one from another. First is that pieces of already existing human genome or any animal genome can become sort of viruses and become autonomous like viruses, like act, change its, go to different organisms and so on. And another is the common science version that these are inside viruses what enters our genome.
So I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You're kind of saying, really, you could almost take a lot of different parts of DNA that aren't virus and they could become virus.
Yes, because look, so a gene it is theoretically autonomous, and one gene make like one task, like produce some protein, and virus make actually also that. Virus enters the DNA code and produce some protein what is for its virus's purpose, or just reproduce itself. So maybe some genes got bugged, so for example, and become this endogenous retroviruses. But also it does not, it actually says almost nothing about was it design or about design or evolution. It's pretty much it can be design and can be evolution, and so this areas are sort of separate things. You cannot distinguish one from another by looking only on areas, from my point.
So I'm very much an amateur. At this sort of thing. I can't wait to hear what Dr. Dan says. But my understanding is the
Yes.
way they actually identify these ERVs are, for one, there's 3 specific proteins that basically all retroviruses have, and at least one of them is harmful if it were actually activated. But the other thing is flanking the ERV are these, I think it's like called long-term repeats. It's basically where the virus inserted itself in. So you kind of see the actual viral DNA, and then you actually on each side of it kind of see it's almost like scar tissue where it actually inserted itself. But like I said, I'm just got this from somebody else.
Yeah. Let's see here.
But it is interesting, even if I don't know, even if you were to claim that virus is just some sort of piece of genetic material that's taken away from the original host, it's still, you got this issue where if you like compare human ERVs with chimpanzee ERVs, I think it was like I can't remember the exact number, 205 out of 208 of this one specific type of ERV were the same, and they were in the same, flanked by the same pieces of DNA in both chimps and humans.
Are they like on the same place?
Yeah.
No. Mm-hmm.
Which it's kind of hard to explain outside of common ancestry.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And when we do the phylogeny, it also matches up with what we would expect from evolution. And Dr. Dan and I did a nice chat on ERVs a while back ago on a friend of mine's channel. I'll have to get the link for that. Let's see here. Oh, hold on a second. Let's see here. All right. Hopefully we can get some more people in here. Um, okay. Trying to see. Who else is going to come in?
So, guys, do you want to go through the Jesus prophecies, or we
Hold on.
discuss
Previous
something
miss.
else?
Dr. Dan, you haven't missed much.
Yeah,
I got vaccinated. Dr. Dan, please come in. I've got a lot of
yeah.
stuff that I want to talk to you about vaccinations, mRNA stuff, and all of that. Feel free to come in because I've got a lot of stuff that we can talk about. Um,
I mean, in the meantime, if Creo, if you want to talk about some of these prophecies, like maybe an
Okay.
example.
So, do you know this content, Mr. Heptierix?
Do I know which one are you?
So it is just goes through the all prophecies and think about it. It is valid or not? Like from the very beginning. So, for example, the first what they say is Genesis 3:15, and this about Eve's seed and other stuff. So it reads like, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." It is God talks to the snake after the eating fruit, sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, got it. So, what actually Chris claim? Chris claims that this is the prophecies about Jesus because he say so, and you shall bruise his heel. So it's prophecy about Jesus being bruised his feet on the explanation that Romans, when they crucify someone, they put the moment I must translate that.
So if it just kind of seems like the more obvious explanation is that God is cursing the snake, and from then on, humans are going to have kind of a an affinity towards snakes and want to stomp on them and be and it's kind of explaining why humans and snakes are
So yes,
snakes bite at
I
the
will go to
heels
it.
of people, and
Yes.
humans are always wanting to stomp on them. It kind of seems like you're really stretching it to somehow tie that to a prophecy about
Yes,
Jesus.
but look what they are saying. So he state, "You shall bruise his heel." They claim that Romans, if they put somebody on the cross, they make the nail into a heel and not just in somehow in the foot. And they bring this fact and claim that this is a prophecy. But I have found some controversials on the basis because the word seed or offsprings means always the direct offspring of someone. So here, between your offspring means here means offspring of snakes, so this is like physical snakes and not something else like offspring from the snake in literal sense are sinners or demons or whatever Christians imagine. So what do you guys think about it?
I mean, that's kind of the thing. I don't see anything in Genesis where it implies that the snake was anything but a snake. It doesn't ever say that it's Satan or
Okay,
a fallen
so first,
angel.
okay, so unusual first thing is that it was talking, and second thing because in the so I have read some Book of Enoch. It is not in the canon, but there is some interesting stuff about the Bible. So it's sort of like a missing part of Bible. What is and they state that like some fallen angel have worked through the snake. So this ability is snake to talk on something, but it has no sense if God then curses the snake because snake did not anything. The snake was just used. So I see here also some not not very logical what is happening here.
Well, I mean, I would say to that, there's all sorts of fables where animals are talking. If Genesis is supposed to be saying that the snake, the serpent, was actually the devil or Satan or a fallen angel, it seems like a pretty huge detail to leave out. And even if you read into Genesis, it describes the snake as the most cleverest of the animals. It never says anything else other than that.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of forcing that into the text that it's not there. Really, what Genesis is, it's a explanation myth that they're trying to explain why snakes don't have legs. They're trying to, I don't know if there's an actual.
So it is only about that snakes do not have legs and they are like poisonous and they
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they will bite you in here and you must cut the snake's head on.
Yeah, I believe this would be considered what is called an etiological myth, explaining how the universe came to be the way that it is. Why don't snakes have legs? Why do we have rainbows? Why is childbirth painful? Why do we have multiple languages? That is what the Genesis myths are trying to explain. So I read this more as an etiological myth and not really a actual prophecy or anything like that.
So also, David, do you know about the Jews' position? For example, here is the related questions: how Jews have seen that sin is transferred.
Yeah.
So according to,
I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
Yes, so Christians, for example, this Roger Libby, what I have heard, he argued that in Jewish and Christian traditions, sin is translated through the father to the offspring, so not through the mother. So in the sense that somebody.
So yeah, you're right on the point right there. So in Jewish law, the mother determines whether or not the child is Jewish, and the father determines what tribe you are from. So if your father was of the tribe of Judah, you would be of the tribe of Judah, and so forth. And that's the problem with the virgin birth, because if Jesus was born of a virgin, then he would not have any biological father. He would not have any claim to the throne, because he would not be legally. Jesus would not be a part of any. Right, he would not be a part of any tribe, so therefore he could not be decided.
Yes, yes. Is this correct that, for example, Maria married Joseph, and Joseph was from the king's line of David, Christian claim, and therefore Jesus have right to the throne. So they put it so, like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch what you were saying.
So Maria was the physical mother of Jesus, and Joseph, the husband of Mary, he was from the genealogical line from the King David. Therefore, if Maria married Joseph, Jesus becomes the right on the throne because he's, how to say it, because his father becomes Joseph, sort of that. They make whole of stuff of explanation with these genealogical lines and why it should be so and not otherwise.
Dr. Dan, whoever it is must have me blocked. I cannot see their comments. 1 second. Give me a minute, please. Let's see here. I am just pulling something up real quick.
So one thing
Dr. Dan, would you please do me a favor and ban Seaside Film Labs from the chat? Because I not see him at all. I can see him on an account I'm not logged into. Sea Science Myths. He must have me blocked because I do not see his comments. So feel free to swing the ban hammer. Let's see here. I don't see any of your comments. Yeah, that's weird because I don't see any of his comments other than this here, which is weird. Thank you for getting rid of them.
There's a private chat side and then a comment side, and I'm seeing Dan's comments on the comment side. I don't know if maybe you're just
So thanks for taking care of that, guys. Yeah, as a general rule, if you block me or any of my moderators, you will be blocked. That's typically a rule throughout all YouTube channels. I only saw the comments when I was on the browser that I'm not logged into. So yeah. RageIOs, this is a very well-deserved use of the Bean Hammer, indeed. So yeah, don't block me, don't block your moderators, don't block any of my moderators or you'll be blocked also. That's just the way it is. Hey Jordan, how you doing? Good to see you. Jordan, if you want to come in, please feel free. If no one comes in, I might shut it down early and get a good night rest. I should be getting to bed at a decent time tonight, but oh well. This wasn't as well advertised as my other stuff was. Yeah, if you don't get trolls in your chats, are you even on YouTube? Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can maybe try to fill in some of this dead space. One thing I always thought was interesting about the whole Messiah prophecies is the Messiah in Judaism was always supposed to be sort of a liberator of occupied Judea, because Judea pretty much just passed hands, from the Babylonians to the Persians to the Greeks to the Romans. And usually these prophecies were talking about restoring the kingdom of Judea, which was the kingdom of God. And somewhere shortly after, it seems like Jesus's death, the Messiah suddenly turned into some sort of force that was saving humanity's souls. I always thought that was a real. I mean, how do you address that? What
So
was
yeah, I
missing
could.
beforehand?
Yeah. Yep. Hey, Jordan, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, but the
Unmuted. How's it
point is
going?
that many Jews misunderstood what the messianic prophecies are.
Yep. Hey,
Because
Jordan,
it,
anything on your mind?
Well, so you're just asking like how the transformation happened between the Christian understanding of the Messiah and the Jewish understanding of the Messiah?
Well, yeah, to me, it kind of seems like, rewriting what the Messiah was just to kind of save face for a failed Messiah. That's kind of how I looked at it.
So I think the way it probably went is a little bit different. So you had the followers of Jesus during his earthly ministry, and
By the way, I'm sorry to cut you off real quick. Dr. Dan posted a link to a video that he did on vaccinations called Intro to Vaccinations. Go to Dr. Dan's channel, Creation Myths, subscribe to him, and watch that video. It is quite fascinating. And hopefully we'll have a date to pin down with Dr. Dan when we can have a chat on vaccinations and virology and other type of fun stuff. So sorry to cut you off, but please continue.
you're going to tell the truth about how vaccinations are all a lie foisted on us by big virus. Anyways, so basically, if you start with a core of people who are convinced that Jesus is the Messiah, and there's hints in the New Testament that indicates that they understood this in the traditional Jewish way, where he was going to bring back a physical kingdom and overthrow the powers that be and all that. Then he dies. And usually what happens when a Messiah dies, because he certainly wasn't the first one, is everyone realizes, well, I guess he's not the Messiah then, and then goes on to do something else. This time, however, there was some kind of experience. And so I think what happened is some of his closest followers, James perhaps, had experiences post grief, bereavement, hallucinations perhaps, that convinced him he was risen from the dead. So if he's risen from the dead, like you saw his physical body or you felt it or whatever convinced you, then you somehow have to square the circle that, well, he's risen from the dead and I already believed he's the Messiah, right? So how do I get from A to B? And I think that's where the earliest Christians, who were all Jews, did something extremely Jewish, which was go into their book and try to find clues, for this for this new eventuality. And that's where you get the propensity of early Christians to like go into the book of Isaiah and read messianic preferences into that where they were never read before by other Jews.
so, do you think that Jesus was the actual real person, or have really lived and have students and so?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was a person, probably named Jesus, because it was a very common name at the time, who existed in the 1st century CE, an apocalyptic prophet, like many other apocalyptic prophets of his time.
I'd agree with that too.
Okay,
I mean,
then
there's there wasn't anything too extraordinary. There was a lot of people going around saying there was messiahs. There was actually a lot of people going around sort of healing people, with their I would just say magic powers. But yeah, Jesus himself was there was a lot of figures that were very similar to him.
Yeah, and you got to remember in the ancient world in the 1st century, it was almost a miracle if you didn't perform miracles. It appeared that everyone could do some form of miracle, no matter where you were.
it is interesting to note that even people who weren't Christians, so people who didn't believe the Christian claims about Jesus, I'm thinking Josephus here, didn't discredit the idea that he could work miracles. Some of them would claim that his miracles weren't necessarily from God because maybe they didn't believe he was a prophet or whatever. But yeah, the idea that you could work a miracle in the ancient world didn't immediately mean, oh, you must be the Son of God and a mortal being from the beginning of time. That's just not how it worked.
Yeah, exactly.
But he also fulfilled many prophecies what are in Old Testament, and also small ones like can you go in on a donkey or being buried in a grave from someone rich and so on. So do you think that if this actually happens, that it is sort of strange because it is really fulfilled what Old Testament writes? Either it was just put in the Gospels by writers, but in that case the writer is lying because it is too much coincidence if it would be true.
So there's a difference between Jesus existed as a real person and everything written in the New Testament is historical.
Okay, so it means lying. Just
well, you don't need to. So lying implies intentional deception, right? And I don't think that that's necessary to explain what we observe. You have to remember that the New Testament was almost certainly not written by eyewitnesses. Matthew, which ones? Luke is explicitly not an eyewitness. He says that explicitly. The other Gospels never claim to be written by eyewitnesses, and they were written decades after the fact. So it's unlikely that anyone writing them was there to witness. They were just getting the stories that they'd received, through whatever oral tradition. And so it's entirely possible that they believed mostly what they were reporting. There's evidence that, say, for instance, John changed things for theological reasons. But I think if you'd gone back and asked the person or persons who wrote John, and this is just my own impression, but I suspect if you asked them, say, John, why did you change the day that Jesus was crucified? Don't you know that's wrong? And he would have been like, well, you're missing the point. That the point is not the day he was crucified. The point is he's the Lamb of God. So.
And you know what? I'll chime in real quick and then I'll be quiet. But if you actually read it, they're saying that Jesus, they found a donkey specifically to fulfill a prophecy. So I don't know. These guys are aware that, hey, a Messiah there's a prophecy that the Messiah is supposed to come in riding a donkey. Let's go find a donkey and ride in on it. I mean, that to me is a obvious self-fulfilled prophecy.
Yeah, you have to remember too, like you said, that the authors of the Gospels were aware these prophecies existed, and so you can see evidence of that in two places off the top of my head. You've got the donkey thing, where in the other Gospels he's just riding on a donkey, but in Matthew he's riding on both a donkey and the foal of a donkey, like straddling them or something, because the original prophecy used a poetic form where they would say something and then say it again more specifically, and the reader of Matthew interpreted that as, so it said he will ride on a donkey on I forget the word, on something that the foal of a donkey, and
yes, on a young donkey, something like that.
Right. So and the writer of Matthew is like, oh, two donkeys, but that's not what it actually means, but that's how he wrote it. And then
are you sure that there are two donkeys?
I'm sorry?
Are you sure that there are two donkeys in Matthew?
I'd have to look at the thing, yes, but the next one I was going to say, I'm sure that nobody will disagree with, is that you've got the birth stories in Matthew and in Luke, which are two different stories. They don't fit together. There's hardly anything shared between them. But what they do share is that they both desperately need Jesus to be born in Bethlehem. And the reason is that, everyone knew that the Messiah, the Savior of Israel, was going to be born in Bethlehem. That was a prophecy. And so everyone also knew that Jesus was from Nazareth. Everybody knew that. So how do you get this guy who is definitely from Nazareth to be born in Bethlehem? Well, Matthew has one way and Luke has a different way.
Yeah, actually, there's another good reason to believe that Jesus was not born in Bethlehem, and I'm trying to pull up the verse. to John. And trying to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, but even if they're trying to make Jesus born in Bethlehem, I think that goes back to because David was from Bethlehem, so it kind of ties back into it's almost like a liberator restoring the kingdom of David from the occupiers, and all these prophecies are all usually, specifically addressing the occupiers, whether they be the Babylonians or the Persians or the Greeks or the Romans.
For the donkey thing, I'm looking at Matthew 21 verse 7. This is the NIV. So before this, Jesus sends them to go get a donkey and a colt. That was the word I couldn't remember. And then he says that this is the prophecy that's being fulfilled. And then in verse 7, they brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on, implying that he's sitting on both of them, or maybe he's sitting between them. I don't know. It's not entirely clear. Maybe the original Greek is more clear. I don't know. I don't read Greek.
Yeah, there can be always some translation issues.
But the point is that the writer of Matthew was aware that this was a prophecy, and so it's not hard to imagine, even if the gospel writer himself didn't do it, if people telling these stories know that the Messiah is supposed to fulfill these prophecies, and you know the guy you're talking about is the Messiah, well, I mean, you're gonna like, how did he fill out this? Well, let me tell you how he fulfilled that prophecy. Like that. That's just the nature of telling stories.
Yeah, and like I said, even if they weren't making this up, the authors, even if you take the story literally, in the story they said they are doing this to fulfill a prophecy.
And like the prophecy is he's going to ride in on a donkey. I mean, come on, that's like, oh, I'm going to prophesy that the future leader of America is going to ride to DC in a car. Well, okay. I mean, that's not a very dramatic prophecy. It's like I prophesy he's going to wake up and eat breakfast. Like, cool. Riding on a donkey is not that unusual.
No, I agree. And another thing I've heard, he's riding in a donkey, and we've heard of Palm Sunday. The people were cheering him in as he entered Jerusalem, and they were waving palms around. That was actually kind of a recreation of the liberators during the I think it's the Maccabean revolt. So Judea or Jerusalem had been occupied by the Greeks for a long time, one of Alexander's generals. And the Maccabeans, the Jewish Maccabeans, they had risen up and revolted and actually overthrew the Greeks. And when they came in as liberators, they were waving palms around. And so this is kind of another reason I still feel like the Messiah was always supposed to be a liberator, kind of a king or a general, which again ties into why they were trying to make Jesus be of the lineage of David and born in Bethlehem, which was where David came from. To me, it just makes more sense. I feel like they really redefined what the Messiah was supposed to be after the fact.
Yes.
Well, I mean, Paul says in his letter to, I want to say it's the Hebrews, maybe it's the Romans, I don't remember. But basically he says that there's a reason why the Christian mission among the Jews is not working. It's because Jesus died, and it's very difficult for Jews to accept a Messiah who died. It wasn't difficult at all for Gentiles, which is part of the reason, the Christian church eventually became Gentile. But some of those stories are just not historically plausible. Like that one where Jesus is coming in, and there's like all these crowds cheering and saying he's the king and stuff. It's unlikely, mainly because like it's happening right before Passover, right? Well, Passover was a very tense time in first century Roman Judea, because it was a festival that was celebrating the Jews overthrowing a tyrant foreign occupier, and that was not lost on the Romans. The Romans knew exactly what this was for, and so it was one of the few times the Roman governor would come and actually occupy Jerusalem with his troops, and they would be stationed in the city specifically to put down revolts. Things that happened, like there were violent clashes with Roman soldiers around Passover in other years, and so it seems to me. I mean, this isn't certain, but it seems to me if you have Romans who are not known for their mercy for people declaring, political uprisings, if you have this dude riding in, everyone saying he's the king, he's the king. I mean, I feel like the crucifixion would have happened a couple days early.
Oh, absolutely. And Pilate in the Bible, they kind of make him out to be this hand-wringing guy, and he just really doesn't want to have to crucify Jesus, but the Jews are all calling for his head, and so he's pretty much just bullied into it. That is completely not the way Pilate was historically. Pilate was extremely ruthless with the Jewish people. He was crucifying people left and right. I believe that the Jewish priests in the end were sending letters to Rome asking him to be recalled because he was killing so many people.
Yeah, if you read the works of Philo, he doesn't, because he's contemporary to the time of Pontius Pilate. You can see to be fair, he's not exactly a charitable source because he definitely isn't like Pilate, but still, that coincides with the reports of Josephus, who is writing to Roman audiences, so he's much more pro-Roman, and even he talks about how ruthless Pilate was. One story in particular, I recall there was like a protest outside. I forget why. I think it might have been the time he raided the treasury for public funds. That might have been the time, which is a thing he did, the Holy Church, the temple treasury. But like people were protesting, and so he had his soldiers go out into the crowds like in disguise, and then on a signal they beat out clubs and just beat people literally to death in the crowd until they've dispersed. Like that was how Pilate rolled.
Yeah, exactly. Pilate was overall a very bad guy. So they obviously wanted to pin it on the Jewish authorities, and unfortunately, these texts were the ultimate. um, the end result was, of course, the Holocaust and pogroms and persecutions throughout and expulsions, and they were justified using these texts that Jesus was the Messiah, that the Jews killed him. And this was the basis for a lot of hurt for the Jewish people for many millennia.
Which is ironic, given that, Jesus was Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't find the prophecy argument to be particularly compelling. I've yet to see a prophecy that, one, Jesus definitively, without a doubt, historically fulfilled, that two, couldn't have been written in after the fact, or not necessarily from deception. It could be just a natural evolution of stories, or something that could have been like the donkey thing where, I know that I'm supposed to ride in as a donkey if I'm the king, let me ride in on a donkey, stuff like that. And probably the best. Go ahead.
And then all of the messianic prophecies that Jesus allegedly fulfilled are either out of context or mistranslated, such as Isaiah 7:14. Ha'almah, the word almah does not mean virgin. In fact, the Hebrew text says that the woman is already pregnant, so she definitely cannot be a virgin. These are the type of stuff that that you will see if you actually read and understand any amount of Hebrew.
I mean,
was Isaiah, that Isaiah or was that?
I mean, is from the context or like because. So Roger Libby argues that these are sort of synonymical because he goes on the places in the Bible where Alma is mentioned, and it's like 7 places, and does they have to do with, and argues is a young woman or a virgin, what is not possible, and so on. Also he says that now we have sort of Can you inform from this? We have yet many tables from Ugarit language, and this language was close to Hebrew, so it can be used to define the meaning of the Hebrew word. So, and he says that tables are from 2000 BC, and there is a text addresses to some goddess, I don't know, like also, and there stands a virgin will born in Ugarit Betula, and in the next verse state Alma will born in child. So first it points me to a thought that maybe the idea about virgin birth something is actually old. And second, these words are sort of used together. I wanted to actually ask if you guys know about this because I would like to investigate that. What to say? It is from this Ugarit texts.
I don't think I'm familiar with that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm probably going to hop off. I'm doing some last minute prep work for the debate tomorrow.
Yeah, and remind me, that's on modern day debates.
Yep, modern day debates. I believe it's at 8 p.m. if I remember correctly. On,
Yeah. Basically,
Who's
the people that
what's the topic?
but no one's work found. It's the same exact debate topic that I did with Altangelo and the other guy.
Philip Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's going to be quite a debate.
Spoiler, probably not.
Yeah, it'll probably be over in the first 5 minutes. Did you finish watching my debate with him?
Yeah, I've watched it through a couple times. Since it's on the exact same topic, it was good study material.
Yeah, it'll probably be best.
Yeah,
And I highly doubt they'll bring it. They'll probably use the same exact arguments they used in that debate with me. So
if by argument you mean playing a 5-minute video without speaking in any way, then yes.
Yeah, exactly. To me, that's kind of bad conduct just to have your entire argument as a very badly edited video.
It wasn't very compelling. I'll also be so I'll be tag teaming. So it's on Tangelo and Philip versus myself and Downard.
Yeah, I love Downard. He's a great guy.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. Oh, I mean, I'm not so much looking forward to the debate topic, but it'll be
yeah.
I'm expecting it to be a shit show.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it will be absolutely a shit. Oh, it's going to be a shit show. I mean, I doubt they'll bring forth anything new, and you'll probably win the debate in the first 5 minutes.
I mean, unless they've somehow managed to push something through peer review in the last 4 hours since I checked.
Yeah.
Anyway, see ya.
All right, see ya, man.
Yep, I'm going to duck out too. So you guys have a good night.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to probably start wrapping it up myself. So thank you so much for joining, Rio.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.